Game maker Ubisoft has become one of the most fascinating companies to keep an eye on because of all of the problems they are having. And a lot of these problems seemingly self-inflicted. And about a month ago, activist investor AJ Investments, who's recently taken a position in Ubisoft, had a lot to say to other shareholders and some of the stuff that they bring up. Some of the things that Ubisoft has done in the past in tandem with Tencent from China, well, it just gives us a whole load of new questions. Renegade Online. One of the final things I wanted to talk about a little bit with Ubisoft. I know some of this has come up recently. We're going to have more details, I think, by Sunday. Of course, Ubisoft right now is not really, they can't say anything. They can't divulge anything because we are 21 some odd days away from the earnings call. This is a game studio that has self-destructed. This is a game studio that got in bed with Tencent from China. There is a lot going on. And there's going to be a lot more to discuss, I think, more than I want to try to dive into here at this point in the evening. But rest assured, like, look, our friends out there, people like Endymion, people like Dread Roberts, Grums, of course, is out there talking a lot about this stuff. I have a lot of thoughts on what is going on from the corporate side. This thing reeks. And the games they're playing with shareholders and whatnot, I think, is really something. And like I said before, I am going to see what we can do to cover the earnings call for Ubisoft live. If it's in the middle of the day or the middle of the night, it's going to be one of the two, because it's going to be timed to either pre-market or after the market closes in Paris. If it's pre-market, I mean, we might be up quite literally at midnight here, my time, covering that. It's possible that we do that. I just don't know exactly what time it is yet. I know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. So that is what we have to wait and see. Because I don't believe on their own website that they have disclosed that information. Let me check real quick. So I think we all saw this the other day. They put out a letter to investors, and the man in the picture right there is the one you hear us name frequently. That is Yves Guillemot. That is the CEO of Ubisoft. He and 4 of his family members are 5 of the board members of Ubisoft as well. He is, of course, the executive chairman and CEO. And Ubisoft, while they can't make any material statements during the quiet period, prior to the earnings call, they did share a note, and I had a PDF of it, but this is really all it is. Ubisoft has noted recent press speculation regarding potential interests around the company. It regularly reviews all of its strategic options in the interest of stakeholders and will inform the market if and when appropriate. It's a bunch of gobbledygook for saying, yeah, we know y'all are talking, but please don't make us say stuff during the quiet period. That doesn't mean that nothing's going on at Ubisoft right now. There's a lot going on at Ubisoft right now. There's probably a lot of things that will have major implications for this company that it would not at all surprise me if something is either announced or strongly hinted at during that earnings call on October 30th. But right now, Ubisoft can make no public or any otherwise official statement on anything of that magnitude. A buyout, not a buyout. Privatization, none of that, right? They can't say that. So the issue becomes then, what then are we talking about? Well, I'm going to bring this up just as kind of a precursor, because this is an important piece of information to understand. This was a letter to investors from AJ Investments, who we've mentioned before. And as you can see, it went to all of Ubisoft, the board of directors, Yves Guillemot, Tencent Holdings, those Chinese fellas, and Ubisoft shareholders. Now, you see there, carbon copied to KKR, Vivendi, and Blackstone. Those are three important names. Three names that, being in the industry for 20 years, I'm very familiar with. KKR, Vivendi, and Blackstone are very well-known, very well-respected private equity managers. In fact, I've dealt with some KKR portfolios and Blackstone portfolios in my career. But that being said, this is a letter from AJ Investments that's not real happy, okay? Of course, they established that they're a significant minority shareholder in Ubisoft, and their partners writing to express deep dissatisfaction with the current performance and strategic direction of this company. We believe, or why we believe, Ubisoft is great, yet an undervalued company and should be worth between 40 and 45 euros per share. Again, currently, Ubisoft is closer to 10 euros per share. So they believe that Ubisoft should be trading at 4+ times its current price on the open market. Our proposals to increase the value of Ubisoft for all stakeholders allow a take-private process by private equity firms, PE firms, or the Guillemot family and Tencent at a fair price, which I don't actually think they really want to do, but they're throwing that in there. Allow a sales process, as we are in discussion with investors to fight against the Guillemot family with so-called proxy fights at an extraordinary shareholder meeting. Now, I just want to preface this. I think there is a little bit of translation error, like this was maybe written in French and then translated to English, because some of the verbiage in this official letter is a little crude and choppy, and I think that's part of it. Although I could be mistaken, but that's kind of the impression I got here, because remember, we are talking about a French company. What AJ Investments is saying here is that they want to look at an option of having the minority shareholders, meaning not the Guillemot family, not Tencent, but the other 70% of the shareholders out there, and call an extraordinary shareholder meeting, meaning one that would not normally be scheduled because the shareholders want to demand some answers, or a call to action, like to replace board members or potentially a CEO. All of that would be on the table. And, of course, they say in 3, change of current management, start a hiring process of a new CEO who will optimize the cost and studio structure for more agile and competitive company, as Ubisoft should be. We will use the French minority law to collect enough shareholders to start proxy fights and initiate a sales process of Ubisoft to increase shareholder value for all shareholders. Now, there's an interesting piece in here, and this is what's key. I'm not going to read through this whole letter. There's a lot to it. But a couple of key points, as you can see here in bold. There's a lot of very valuable intellectual property that Ubisoft has created and managed over the years. And they say, quite plainly, Ubisoft at its current state is mismanaged, and shareholders are hostages of the Guillemot family members and China, Tencent, who take advantage of them. Management is focused on pleasing investors with beating quarterly results, and they are not focusing on long-term strategies to provide exceptional experiences for the gamers, meaning the customers. Our company has extensive knowledge about the gaming industry, and we were a long-term shareholder in Activision Blizzard, and we started our Ubisoft position a few weeks ago, and we are still adding to it. Remember, if you take care of the customers first, the shareholders will do fine in the long run, because it's the customers that are going to drive the company to profitability, right? So if you want to take care of the shareholders, take care of the customers. If you're feeding the customers crap, like Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows with a 6-foot-tall black guy as a samurai in feudal Japan, which looks ridiculous, you're going to get what you get, and the shareholders are going to get screwed, right? But wait, there's more. To support our thesis, recent Deutsche Bank analysis suggests that Ubisoft has a 67% discount to its peers, meaning that other game companies in the industry are doing radically better than Ubisoft. Why is Ubisoft an outlier to everybody else in how bad its performance is? Okay, and they go through some of the comparisons to Electronic Arts, to Take-Two, Roblox, Embracer, so on and so forth. They go through some numbers here. This is where this was shocking to me. Management and governance. There's going to be some questions asked at this shareholder meeting, I would suspect. The control exercised in September of 22, just 2 years ago, by China, Tencent, and the Guillemot family has effectively blocked potential acquisitions and partnerships that could have been beneficial for the company and its shareholders. More recently, in 2022, private equity firms such as KKR and Blackstone, remember, they're copied on this letter, expressed interest in acquiring Ubisoft, but they were unable to proceed due to existing agreements that prevent any single entity from gaining control without Guillemot and Tencent's consent. Here's the problem. As of right now, if somebody were to come make a very lucrative offer, if the Guillemot family and Tencent, China, don't agree to it, then what this is suggesting is that the other 70% of shareholders in this company are screwed. That they wouldn't be able to make the decision themselves, which I think it seems impossible. I don't know how that would stand up to regulatory scrutiny, even in the EU. I find this very curious, and I've got to do a little bit more digging on this. I have not yet had the time, but that is fascinating. How many other offers have been stymied right at the outset? That made, and again, the thing is here, this is the problem. The company's been run into the ground. And who are the only people, according to this, that can make a decision as far as taking the company private or sale? The very people who ran it into the ground. Isn't it interesting that there was stock buying and swapping between Tencent and the Guillemot family, in some cases at discounted rates and much higher rates, and we'll get into all that later. But the 30% or so of the shares that they hold basically is might as well be the whole thing, is from what it sounds like. And now they want to decide that they've run the company into the ground. Now they want to decide that a company that was worth 10 billion euros, not 4 years ago, that is now worth barely more than 1 billion euros. Basically, so 80 to 90% of the value of the company is gone. That the only people that can buy everybody else out is China, Tencent, and the Guillemot family, the very people who caused the wreckage. Well, that's not suspicious at all. I have a feeling that I don't think if Tencent and the Guillemot family come in there and they want to buy out the rest of the investors and set the value of the company at $10 billion where it was a few years ago and buy everybody out at that price, fine. But if KKR or Blackstone or other private equity groups, AJ Investments and other people want to come in and say, no, we want to buy the company out, but we want to offer even a little bit more money than what Tencent and the Guillemot family would be able to offer. Normally, what would the shareholders take? They would take the better offer. Of course they would. But would that offer even be able to be put on the table without the permission of the people who have run Ubisoft into the floor? According to AJ Investments, the answer is no. Stay tuned for that one, kids. I can't wait to see this earnings call. This is one of the most bizarre Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.